You open your eyes for the very first time, and here we are. You've just been bitten by a radioactive spider. Congratulations! It happened so fast you barely register it. 1 second, you're just some nerdy kid on a school trip, and the next you've got eight-legged superpowers rewriting your DNA. Your body is in full panic mode. Your head is pounding, and you feel like you're on the verge of vomiting up every cafeteria lunch you've ever eaten. But instead of going to a hospital like a normal person, you decide to just sleep it off. Nice move. When you wake up the next morning, everything is different. You feel stronger, faster. You walk past a mirror and realize you've somehow transformed from runt of the school to guy who probably does underground cage fighting, which coincidentally is exactly where you end up a few days later. Because what else would a broke 15-year-old with super strength do? You take down some musclehead in the ring, and suddenly you're thinking, hey, maybe this whole spider thing is a blessing. And then reality checks in. Hard. Because on your way home, you let a thief run past you. Not your problem, right? Except it turns out that same thief decides to shoot your Uncle Ben in an alleyway 10 minutes later. Oops. And just like that, your life as a normal kid is officially over. Because now you've got a whole lot of guilt and one massive responsibility hanging over your head. You learn real quick that with great power comes great suffering. Sorry, responsibility. But it might as well be the same thing. Because here's what that really means. You don't get to be happy. You don't get to be normal. You don't even get to take a break. By the time you're 16, you're already living a double life. By day, you're Peter Parker, high schooler, part-time photographer, and the human equivalent of a walking kick-me sign. But by night, you're out here swinging between buildings, dodging pumpkin bombs, and fighting middle-aged men who have nothing better to do than terrorize New York. And it turns out, being Spider-Man sucks. For starters, your villains are way too dedicated to making your life miserable. Most superheroes get like one or two archenemies. You get an entire rogues gallery of lunatics. Every week it's someone new. One day you're fighting a scientist who decided 4 metal tentacles were a good idea. The next, it's some dude who fell into a vat of electric eels. And just when you think you've seen it all, a guy made of sand shows up, and you have to question if the universe is just messing with you at this point. But the worst part? None of these fights actually get you anywhere. You stop a villain, throw them in jail, and a few weeks later, boom, they're back on the streets like nothing happened. It's like Gotham, but without the billionaire funding a bat-shaped mental institution. Oh, and let's talk about money for a second. Because guess what? Superheroing doesn't pay. Sure, Tony Stark gets a high-tech suit and a $1 million bank account. Batman? He's got entire corporations funding his crime-fighting hobby. But you're broke. Your rent is overdue. Your job at the Daily Bugle barely covers web fluid expenses. And to top it all off, your boss, J. Jonah Jameson, has made it his life's mission to convince the world that you're the menace of society. Awesome. Meanwhile, your social life? Non-existent. You try dating, but good luck keeping a relationship when your girlfriend keeps getting kidnapped. Seriously, every woman you've ever cared about has been dangled off a bridge at some point. Gwen Stacy? Well, let's not talk about that. And even when you do manage to hold on to a relationship, life has a funny way of making sure it doesn't last. Take Mary Jane, for example. You two fall in love, get married, and for one brief moment, things actually seem good. So naturally, the universe decides to ruin it. A demon literally erases your entire marriage from existence. Just poof, gone. No wedding, no relationship, no happy ending. Why? Because apparently your love life is less important than making sure Aunt May lives a few more years. And if that wasn't bad enough, you once had a kid. Had. Because thanks to some timeline warping nonsense, that kid just never existed. At this point, you'd think you'd at least get some respect, right? No. The Avengers? Half of them don't even take you seriously. The government? Constantly trying to arrest you. The media? Still calling you a criminal. And somehow, it keeps getting worse. By the time you hit your late 20s, you've already been cloned, had your body hijacked by your worst enemy, and gotten sucked into multiple multiversal crises. Oh, and at one point you got turned into an actual spider and then gave birth to yourself. Yeah, don't think too hard about that one. Meanwhile, you're still broke. Still dealing with supervillains. Still getting punched in the face on a daily basis. And you can't quit, because no matter how many times you try to walk away, something always pulls you back in. At this point, you're basically New York's unpaid emergency response team. There's a fire? Call Spider-Man. A cat stuck in a tree? Call Spider-Man, supervillain terrorizing the city? Yep, that's on you too. And just when you think you finally have things under control, boom, more trauma. Because the one rule of being Spider-Man is that you never get a break. By the time you're in your 30s, your body is barely holding together. Decades of getting thrown through walls, electrocuted, and stabbed by goblin gliders have left you with permanent battle scars. You don't sleep, you don't rest, and you're starting to realize that you'll probably die in this suit. But hey, at least you're funny. Because at the end of the day, no matter how bad it gets, you have to joke. Because if you don't, if you actually take a second to think about how miserable your life is, well, you'd probably just curl up in a ball and cry. And that, my friend, is why it sucks to be Spider-Man.